Hello YouTube, Dave here again. Today I'm going to be making a character for the Pathfinder 2nd edition. I actually have a Pathfinder game that I'm going to be starting up in just a few days actually. And just to speed the process along and to get to the point where we can sort of just show up and start to play, I've asked people if they, were okay with the characters being made ahead of time, and they said absolutely. So the character that I'm actually going to be making here today is one that's going to be used in the game that I'm about to run, so that's pretty exciting. So this is actually going to be the player wanted to play a human barbarian, so that's what I'm going to make here today. So we got everything that we sort of need right now. I've got my core rulebook here, and I've got a piece of scrap paper with some things set up on it just to make things a little bit easier when I go through and start making the character. So I'll just zoom in just if you want to see the things that I've put on there. So we have a section for stats, and then we have our 6 stats there: strength, dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. We have the base number that we start with, the bonuses that we get for our ancestry, background, class, as well as the 4 other boosts that you get just to complete your character, along with what the final numbers will be, spot for hit points, heritage, because each ancestry has a heritage, or like each race has a sub-race essentially. And a section for feats, because you get a first level feat for your ancestry. Your background will give you a feat as well, and most classes start with a first level feat as well, and then just a spot to write in equipment. So I'm just going to zoom back out here. Alright, so the first thing we do with the character creation is we've got, actually the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write in our base numbers. So all of your stats start with a base number of 10. So we're just going to put that in here. And then the way that the ability scores are increased is anytime you get what's called a boost, it's a +2 bonus to that ability score. Whenever you get a flaw, it's a -2. And if you get boosts that are called free boosts, you can't put free boosts into an ability score that's already been increased by from the same source. So if your ancestry gives you +2 to strength, for example, and then a free boost, that boost cannot go into strength. It has to go into another score. If you get free boosts typically for your ancestry, your background, and then the ones you get for first level, as long as each of those separate instances of getting a free boost go into a different ability score, then that's fine. So like I said, you get 4 at first level. They have to go into 4 separate attributes, but they can go into ones that have been increased by things like your ancestry, background, or class. It's just each particular instance of getting ability score increases that you can't just put them all into. It does seem a little bit confusing, but it'll make more sense as we go forward. So the first thing we're going to do is going to crack open our core rulebook here. We already know the ancestry that our player wants to be, and that ancestry is human. So we look at the human information here. So we start off with 8 hit points, and then we got size medium, speed 25 feet. Ability boosts, there are 2 free ones, so they can go wherever you want them to, as long as they don't go into the same number. There's no flaws, so we don't have to worry about taking anything away. For languages, we get common, and then additional languages equal to your intelligence modifier if it's positive, and then we got traits, human or humanoid. Let's just go ahead and start right with putting in these numbers. So, like I said, he wants to play a barbarian character. So for me, the barbarian character, the 2 most important attributes are going to be strength and constitution. So the strength is going to get a +2. The constitution is going to get a +2. And we know that we get 8 hit points because we saw that there as well. Alright, so next thing is we got to look at the heritage that we want. So for humans, they have, I know what they get, so I'm just going to leave the book closed for now. But humans get 4 different heritages that they can choose from. You can either be a half-elf or half-orc, but he wants to be like a straight human, so we're not going to choose either of those. And then the other 2 are skilled feat, or skilled training, or an extra feat. So you can either be trained in 1 extra skill, or you can gain 1 extra feat. I'm actually going to go with the skilled heritage, And I'm not going to choose the skill quite yet. I'll do that when we get a little bit later into it. But that's what we're going to go with there. And so that's basically going to be our heritage. The last thing we have to do is choose our Ancestry feat. And the one that I was sort of looking at sort of covers the bases for, you know, what you get, the choices between the heritages. So I'm actually going to go with General Training, which we have here. And essentially what it does is it allows you to get a first level general feat as long as you meet the prerequisites, and that shouldn't be too difficult to do. So the Ancestry feat is going to be General Training, and I will choose the feat a little bit later on once we sort of get to that point. So up next we have the background, and looking through the background, the one that I'm going to choose that I think fits the barbarian character the best is actually going to be the nomad. Whoop. So we got the nomad. It just says traveling far and wide. You picked up basic tactics for surviving on the road and in unknown lands, getting by with few supplies and even fewer comforts. As an adventurer, you travel still, often into even more dangerous places. So I get 2 ability boosts. One has to be in Constitution or Wisdom, and then the other is a free boost, and you're trained in the survival skill and a lore skill related to one terrain you traveled in, such as desert lore or swamp lore. I think I'm probably going to go with forest. Just, it seems like the one that's most likely to be of benefit, at least early on in the game. So, and based off of the adventure that I plan on running. So the background is nomad. We'll just write that in there. Ability score boosts. Well, actually, let's just write in the skills here as well. So background. I forgot to write in skills, but the skills are survival. And we're going to go with forest lore. And the feat, I think the feat was the assurance feat, and I haven't actually read what that does yet, but it looks like it's tied to another skill. So it says you get the assurance skill, or the assurance skill feat with survival. So we're just going to write down background, assurance, and then survival in brackets. Alright, perfect. And then we have our ability score attributes that we have to, allocate. So we got our boosts. So one has to be Constitution or Wisdom, and then the other one is a free boost. And I think I'm probably going to go with, so the free boost I'm going to put into Strength. And I think I'm actually going to choose, even though I really want, Con to be, decent, I'm running out of free boosts. So I think I'm actually going to choose Wisdom just to get a positive modifier there. And that's all the information that we really need for our background. So the last thing, we're just going to move on to the class. And the Barbarian class, just skip past a little bit here. So the Barbarian class has the key attribute, or a key ability, of Strength. So at first level, your class gives you an ability boost into Strength, and then the hit points are going to be 12 plus Con modifier. So we're just going to go back here because we want to know that right away. So class gives us +2, and then our hit points are going to be, so we have 8 for human, 12 for barbarian, and then we're going to have our final for Constitution here just in a moment. So then we have the 4 boosts that we get for our first level character. And so obviously one is going to go into Strength. One of them is going to go into Constitution. I'm going to put one into Charisma for things such as Intimidate, for example. If they, the character decides to use that particular skill, it'll give just a slight bonus to that. And the last increase, I think, is going to go into Dexterity, just to help out with the armor class just a little bit there. So we're going to get our totals here now. So we have Strength starts at 10. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 boosts at +2 each. So our final Strength score is going to be 18. Dexterity is going to be, we start with 10, and we only have one boost of +2, so that gives us a 12. Constitution is 10 plus 2 boosts, so we're going to be at 14. Intelligence, we start with 10, and there's no increases there, so we're going to stay at 10. And then both Wisdom and Charisma start at 10 and have one boost each, so we've got 12 and 12 there as well. And so this works similar to other D20 system games. So for your modifiers, you start with 0 at 10, and then for each even number after that, you get an extra +1 modifier. So 12, for example, will give us a +1 modifier. 14 will give us a +2. We don't have any 16s, but they would be +3. And 18 is going to be +4. So with a 14 con, we know that's going to be a +2 modifier. So let's just write the modifiers here in brackets. Alright, just so we can reference that if we need to. So there we go. So we have 8 plus 12 plus 2. So our total hit points for our first level character are going to end up being a total of 22. So that's not too bad there. Alright, so, and then I'm just going to write in a spot down here as well for class features. So we can just have that down there as well. So the next thing I really want to look at, again, is going back to the class section for the Barbarian. Oops, just get past the Alchemist here. Alright, so we're going to go through this here in a moment, but I just want to see what we get for our first level Barbarian. So this is on page 84. And we'll just kind of zoom in here. So we get, whoops, get it to focus. And unfortunately the overhead light is really wreaking havoc right now. Alright, let's just zoom back out a little bit, see if that helps. There we go. So we get Ancestry and background information, initial proficiencies, Rage, Instinct, and a first level Barbarian feat. So with Rage, so it says Rage, you tap into your inner fury and begin raging. You gain a number of temporary hit points equal to your level plus your con modifier. So right now that'd be 3 extra hit points. This frenzy lasts for 1 minute until there are no enemies you can perceive, or until you fall unconscious, whichever one of those 3 comes first. And you can't voluntarily stop raging while you rage. But the benefits of raging: so you deal 2 additional damage with melee weapons and unarmed attacks. The damage is halved if your weapon or unarmed strike is agile. You do take a -1 penalty to your armor class, and you can't use actions with the concentrate trait unless they also have the rage trait. You can seek while raging. After you stop raging, you lose any temporary hit points from rage, and you can't rage again for another minute. And then Instinct just says your rage wells up from a dominant instinct, one you learned from a tradition or that comes naturally to you. Your instinct gives you an ability, requires you to avoid certain behaviors, grants you increased damage and resistances at higher levels, and allows you to select feats tied to your instinct. So we got to go to page 86 for that. So for instinct, I think I'm actually going to go with the Fury Instinct. Whoops. There we go. So Fury Instinct says your rage comes from a deep and purely personal will within you. You use your rage as you choose. So certain barbarian instincts have what's called an anathema. So what an anathema is there's certain things that they're basically like a code of conduct that you have to adhere to. But this one doesn't actually have one. It doesn't grant you an ability for it either, but it does give you an additional first level barbarian feat. So we will end up getting 2 of those barbarian feats here. And then it says specialization ability. Whoops. Increase the additional damage from rage from 2 to 6. If you have greater weapon specialization, increase the additional damage from rage to 12. And then raging resistance, you resist physical weapon damage but not physical attacks from other sources, such as unarmed strikes. So we're going to have all that good stuff there. And we got 2 class feats that we have to choose from. So we'll make note of that, but I do want to go back and just look at our proficiencies. So, proficiencies, we're expert in perception, expert in fortitude and will, trained in reflex. Skills, you're trained in athletics and a number of skills equal to 3 plus your intelligence modifier, which in this case is 0, so we got 3 skills there, plus 1 from our skilled background, ancestry feature, and survival from our background, and forest lore from our background. For attacks, we're trained in simple and martial weapons and unarmed strikes. For defenses, you're trained in light and medium armor, and you're trained in the barbarian class DC. So I'm just going to go through and just fill some of that information into our character sheet here. And once I get that done, I will be right back. See you then. Alright, so I'm back. I filled in the pertinent information on the character sheet here. So I wrote in the stats and modifiers. I've got the saving throws filled out, perception filled out, as well as all of the skills here. On the second sheet, I just filled in the feats here, and I did choose the several of the feats sort of off camera. But for the general training, the Ancestry feat that allows me to choose 1 general feat, I chose the Fleet. This is kind of a tongue twister, but I chose the Fleet feat. And what that does is it increases your base speed by an extra 5 feet. So, for example, the humans have a speed of 25. However, with that feat in place, I was able to increase that up to 30 feet. So they move a little bit faster. And I also chose the feats for the barbarian class. So, just with the class features here, we've got rage and the instinct, the fury instinct. And the Fury Instinct gives you 1 additional first level Barbarian feat. So I chose the Sudden Charge feat, and what that allows you to do is you stride twice. It takes 2 actions to do, but you stride twice, and if you end your movement next to, or in melee range of an individual, like an enemy, then you can make a melee attack at the end of that. So I thought that would be useful one to have. And for the regular, just first level Barbarian feat, I chose Acute Vision. And basically what that is when you are raging, your senses increase and you essentially get dark vision during that period of time. So I thought that might be useful as well. As far as the skill for the skilled heritage, I decided to go with Stealth. So the feats the skills that I had automatically were athletics, as well as survival and forest lore, which I had for my ancestry. Not ancestry, but for my background and class. And then I chose, additionally on top of that, I chose intimidate, medicine, and nature as my 3 skills that I got for the barbarian class, and then I chose stealth as the skill that I took for the skilled heritage. And the reason that I did that is I kind of have an idea in my head that this particular barbarian may have been like one of the tribe's hunters. So having a little bit of training in stealth, for example, would make that a little bit easier. So it's not something that he would use all the time, but I thought it might make a certain amount of sense. So that's sort of the one that I went with if he wants to, sort of take that hunting route as well. And that also lines up with the survival skill as well as taking the nature skill, and also lines up with forest lore. So I thought it all just sort of made sense when you put it all together. I forgot to write in the languages, which was only common. So I'm going to do that right now. And the training level, I believe, for the weapons was just basically trained in simple, get to the right class, that would help. So trained in simple and martial weapons and unarmed strikes. So we've got simple that you're trained in, martial that you're trained in, and then other, we'll shade in the trained, and that is unarmed. And for proficiency bonuses, again, we've got them up here. If you're trained in something, you get 2 plus your level as your proficiency bonus, so 2 plus first level character gives us a 3 bonus, which you can see right there with the prof bonus. And if you're an expert, you get 4 plus your level, so in this case 4 plus first level character gives us plus 5. So you can see that sort of in the will, perception, and fortitude. So that's basically the only other thing we really need to do with our character. I did also write down the rage ability and just the page number and some quick notes on it there. But the only thing that's really left to do is to purchase starting equipment. So the starting equipment, you get 150 silver pieces, because silver is sort of the standard currency, and 10 silver equals a gold, so there's another thing to keep in mind. So 15 gold or 150 silver, and we need to buy our weapons, armor, and just other basic equipment. Another thing that we have to determine is our encumbrance rate, and what the maximum amount of stuff is that we can carry. So that's what we look at the bulk section here for. So for encumbered, you have to have a number greater than 5 plus your strength modifier. So our strength modifier is plus 4. We'll write that down. So for encumbered, 5 plus 4 is 9. So we can carry up to 9 bulk without it affecting our movement or anything else. And then our maximum amount that we can carry is 10 plus our strength modifier, so we can carry up to 14 bulk before we basically are just completely weighed down by stuff. So we're going to go to the equipment section. And the first thing we're going to do, so we got our equipment here, it's on page 275 is where we're starting with our armor. So let's just get the camera up here a little bit. So our barbarian is trained in simple, light armor and medium armor. I think what I'm actually going to do is go with the hide armor, which costs 2 gold pieces, but it gives us an armor bonus of plus 3, maximum dex of plus 2. The check penalty is listed as minus 2, however, with a negative 5 speed penalty as well. However, it has a strength rating of 14, so as long as we have a 14 strength or greater, we ignore this altogether and we reduce this by 5 feet, so we don't have to worry about those at all. And then we have a bulk rating of 2. So let's just write that information down right quick on our sheet here. So we're just going to go with 150 SP. So the first thing we're going to get is going to be hide armor. And that costs 20 SP. Gives us a plus, what was it, plus 3 armor. Funny how I just said it and then immediately forgot. Although in my defense, it is quite late at night when I'm making this video here. So yeah, it's plus 3 armor bonus, plus 2 maximum dex. So we don't have to worry about that. Our dex is only 1 right now, so plus 3 AC. And the only other thing we really need to worry about is that it has a bulk of 2. Alright, so we've got that. The next thing that we want to do is get our weapons. So we're going to go to the weapons section. The chart starts on page 280. And essentially we can use martial or simple weapons. So this character is going to be using I think we're going to go with a greatsword. And if we can get it to focus maybe. So greatsword also costs 2 gold, does 1d12 slashing, and is versatile, so it can also do piercing damage. But because we also wanted to make him a hunter, I'm also going to give him a short bow. So the short bow is 3 gold pieces. So that would give us 2, 2, and 3. So that's 7 of our 15. So we still have 8 gold pieces to work with. So I think we're going to be all right here. And that is 1d6 piercing damage, It's a range of 60 feet, and it has 1 bulk, and has the deadly ability, so if you score a critical hit with it, in addition to the d6, you also roll 1d10. And we're going to get some arrows with that as well, so probably, I'd say, 3 bundles of arrows, so that's 30 arrows for another 3 silver. And that should do it for the weapons, I would say. I might throw a dagger in there as well, but I'm not too worried about that right now. The other thing that we want to do is get into adventuring gear. So the first thing is the Adventurer's Pack, which has a whole bunch of stuff in it. We're going to get that for 7 silver pieces, and that has a bulk of 2 as well. And I don't know if there's really anything else that we really need. So probably just things, because the Adventurer's Pack comes with like a backpack, 50 feet of rope, 2 weeks of rations, I believe it is, and water skin and like a bedroll. So that gives us most of the basic stuff that we would need for a character. So I'd probably only take something like maybe. I think there's sheaths on here for your weapons, so I'd probably take one of those for the greatsword, and I think that's basically it. So I'm just going to go through and write in all of that stuff, and we'll basically be done our character. So I'll be right back with that as well. Alright, so we have our equipment selected. I decided to just go with the very, very bare bones basics because I would, allow the players to further equip themselves if there's other things that they feel is missing. So I just stuck to the items that we sort of discussed before. So we have the hide armor, greatsword, short bow with 30 arrows, adventurer's pack, and a sheath for the greatsword as well. So we've got all that stuff written in. So let's just take a look at our finalized, completed character sheet. So we've got our attributes here with their modifiers. For armor class, we are using armor that we are trained in. Since we are trained in medium armor and hide is a medium armor. We have our +1 dex modifier. So the cap is 2, but we don't have that. We're not there yet, so I'm not going to write that in. So we're trained, which gives us a +3 proficiency bonus and a +3 item bonus for the armor. So we have an armor class of 17 or 16 while we're raging. And then for weapons, we have the greatsword, which attacks at a +7 bonus, 4 for strength, 3 for proficiency. It does 1d12 +4 slashing, or it is also versatile, and you can use it for piercing damage as well. Or in exchange for slashing damage, you can do piercing with it. And then we got our short bow, which is attacks at, whoops, I forgot to write in the attack bonus there, but it attacks at +4, +3 for proficiency, and +1 for dexterity. It does 1d6 piercing damage, has a range of 60 feet, and has the deadly property for an additional d10 on a critical hit. Or is it an additional d10, or do you just roll that dice type instead? Hold on. That's one thing that I did get a little bit, I don't want to say confused, but so deadly. So deadly states that on a critical hit, the weapon adds a weapon die, a damage die of the listed size. So you roll this after doubling the weapon's damage. Okay, so yeah, if I get a critical, it's 2d6 plus a d10 with the short bow, which is not bad, I must say, overall. So the second sheet here, we still have... the second sheet, we have our feats and everything still written in, but we have our inventory here. So we've got our worn items, which is the hide armor, the greatsword, the short bow, the arrows, and the adventurer's pack. We have a total of 9 bulk that we can carry before we're considered encumbered. So we're only carrying 7, so we're good there. And we still have left over 9 copper pieces, 9 silver pieces, and 6 gold pieces. That way, the player can choose a few more things if he wants. And then we've got just our rage ability, nothing else that we really had to add to that particular section. So that is our barbarian character completed. So the fighter types are usually a little bit more simple and straightforward. If you are interested in seeing the creation of a spellcasting character, let me know in the comments below, because I'm going to be making a few of them this week, since 3 of the 4 people that I asked or that expressed an interest in joining all wanted to play either a wizard or sorcerer, and I have 2 other players that I don't know what they're looking to make yet. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it was at least somewhat helpful going through the character creation process. And if nothing else, if you just want to see like the way that I sort of try to organize things, maybe that will be of some assistance to you as well. So far, again, thank you guys very much for watching, and if you've picked up the books, let me know what characters that you guys have been making, because I'm always interested to hear what other people are looking to play, and hopefully it's not a party full of spellcasters. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching again. Oh, one last thing. I forgot to mention, I think I forgot to mention what the Assurance Feat does. With the Assurance Feat, you choose a particular skill to have that feat attached to. In this case, it's Survival. Just before we go, what that feat allows you to do is, instead of making a roll, you can instead choose to take a result equal to 10 plus your proficiency bonus. So not proficiency and attribute, just your proficiency bonus, rather than taking the chance of rolling. So for example, with Survival, I could, instead of rolling the die, I could just take a total of 13. Which is, not necessarily all that too bad of an option to have. So it just makes things a little bit easier there. And of course, it becomes more beneficial as you get higher levels, as you go up in levels, because your level adds to your proficiency bonus, and also as you increase in your skill training. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that before I completely forget. So that's what that feat does, and I think I explained everything else already. So once again, guys, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Take care.